The movie begins with the narrator explaining the origin of 3 golden eggs that belonged to Cleopatra, given to her by Mark Antony. It is further explained that it was believed to be a myth, but soon, 2 of these gems were found in Cairo by a farmer while one remains never to be seen again. One of these found gems are on display in a museum while the other was sold in an auction. The scene cuts to a line of police cars going to the museum to stop a heist in progress. Along with the police is an FBI profiler named John Hartley who specializes in art heist, and Das who works for Interpol. They arrive on the scene where a heist is being carried out by an art thief named Nolan Booth who intends to steal the golden egg from the museum. They arrive on site and see that the egg is intact, but Hartley is doubtful and proceeds to scan the egg and discovers that it was just a replica placed by the thief. The owner of the museum tells him it must be a mistake, but Hartley proves his suspicion by pouring soda on the egg. This causes it to immediately change color, revealing that the real one is gone. They begin to shut down the museum, pushing Nolan to make his escape. Everyone starts to panic and Hartley chases after him. Nolan slips through a door which Hartley gets caught in and changes his attire to get past the guards. Das catches up to him and he drops an explosive device to create a cover for his escape. Hartley gets free and continues to pursue the thief, cornering him in a room with a few guards. He climbs up a construction site and takes down the guards one by one, sending them flying off the bridge, then pulls a pin to destroy it, which traps all the guards on the ground. He's surprised when Hartley appears and holds him at gunpoint. Hartley tells him to surrender, but he tries to change the subject and asks about where he got his jacket, trying to be cheeky and asking for his badge. Hartley tells him to give him the egg and he submits. At the same time, Das enters, creating an opportunity for Nolan to kick away his gun. They struggle and fall through the window, hanging onto a ledge to avoid the drop. Nolan takes the bag and escapes through a tube while Hartley grabs a ladder, leaning it to land in his path. They both jump off the roof while the chase ensues. Hartley gets in a car and chases after Nolan and ends up crashing into a van, causing Nolan to get away. The scene skips to Bali, where we can see Nolan arriving on an island where he lives. He enters his home, only to come face to face with Hartley, who was waiting on him. A squad enters his house along with Das and she retrieves the egg. She tells him he is wanted in 18 countries because he has a red notice put out on him for his theft, so she will choose which will detain him until his trial. He continues to make jokes and Hartley expresses his dislike towards him because his profile suggests that he only steals because of the thrill. Nolan asks how they located him, but Hartley reveals that the infamous bishop exposed all his details. They restrain Nolan and put him in the back of an armored jeep. Das hands Hartley the egg, and when he places it in another jeep, a mysterious person switches out the egg, but Hartley does not realize the difference. Hartley is having a drink and Das comes to confront him with the fake egg. She thinks Hartley switched out the egg and tells him she knows that he has fake credentials and has been receiving large amounts of money, which proves it must be him. Hartley expresses that it's impossible and someone is trying to frame him, but Das doesn't believe him. She calls in a large squad to come and apprehend him. They bring him to a prison in Russia where he ends up being cellmates with Nolan, the thief that they arrested the day before. Nolan tries to act friendly towards Hartley, but he brushes him off and regrets having to be caged with him as he finds him annoying. They head for dinner and Nolan suggests that the bishop may have planned to get them both in trouble to be able to get away with the egg. He explains that he wanted to get all 3 eggs and sell them to a family by a certain date. He exposes the location of the second egg, owned by Soda Vace, who is an arms dealer. He throws a masked party every year and he would use that opportunity to steal it, but Hartley and Das prevented him when he was arrested. Nolan mentions that he shouldn't let the prisoners find out he was a FBI, and Hartley becomes uneasy. Hartley tells him to be quiet, but he stands and tells everyone that Hartley is not a policeman but a profiler for the FBI, putting him in a rough position. Acting sarcastically and sitting down to tell him no one heard what he said. An inmate approaches them and harasses Hartley, pushing his food onto his lap. Nolan hands Hartley his own food, knowing that the inmate would throw it on him again, solely for his amusement and to get back at him. Nolan taunts Hartley and he gets up to face the inmate, explaining he doesn't want to fight. But the prisoner beats him up and a guard fires a warning shot for them to stop. Back in the cell, Nolan continues to mock him and Hartley threatens him. At the same moment, the guards came and escorted them to see the captain, who turns out to be the bishop. She tells them that she truly was the one who exposed their information and set them up to get the egg. Soon she will go to the next location and retrieve the second egg. She reveals that Nolan knows the location of the third egg, which he didn't tell Hartley. He denies it, but the bishop plays a recording where he confirmed it. She tells him to relinquish the location of the third egg for his freedom, but he refuses. She tells him that the offer remains on the table and leaves. Both of them are brought outside where they are put to work to stack stones at a hole in the wall. They decide to work as a team and begin to come up with a plan to escape and get into the masked party to get the second egg before the bishop does. The night before their escape, Nolan shares that Hartley's profile on him was true and how he had a hard time growing up with his father, who didn't show him any affection. Hartley pretends to fall asleep and laughs when Nolan calls out his joke. The next day, they put their plan into action, causing a great explosion in the laundry room for a distraction and fending off the guards as they come at them. They force their way outside and remove a stone in the wall, recreating the hole to escape through. They climb out on the ledge and Nolan almost loses his step, but Hartley catches him. They make it to the other side and take out the guard on watch. Nolan takes out the driver of the helicopter while the guards shoot after Hartley. He starts the plane and Hartley runs to get on, but the bridge is hit by a missile. He holds onto the bridge and begins to climb up. A few guards exit the building and shoots at the helicopter, but Nolan retaliates by using the helicopter to shoot at them. Nolan tried to leave without Hartley, but he successfully gets on board. They start to argue over whether he was leaving or not. One of the guards fires a missile at the helicopter, but Hartley opens the door, causing it to fly right through. We skip to where the bishop infiltrated an office to send a message to Das. She wants Das to stop Nolan and Hartley so they can't interfere with her plan. The civilian presses an alarm that summons a guard, but she takes him down and threatens him to keep quiet about what happened in the office. Nolan and Hartley are on a plane heading to the party. They go through the plan on the building's layout and how they will go about retrieving the egg without being seen or suspected. They arrive at the party and begin to blend in with the guests and waiters. Nolan plans to get Soda Vace's thumbprint while Hartley goes to get his phone. When Hartley heads on the dance floor, he sees the bishop and trails her. He threatens to bring her in while Nolan tells him not to expose the plan. He heads to the dance floor and dances with her to get the attention of Soda Vace in efforts to take away his phone. Das is revealed to also be there watching him. Nolan intentionally bumps into Hartley and messes up his clothes so they both can go to the washroom together. While Hartley goes into the bathroom, Nolan hacks the system and makes changes to the camera and time the guards so they can get around without hassle. They go into Soda Vace's study so they can access his vault with the egg, but the glass with his thumbprint falls and breaks, prompting Nolan to search the pieces for it and taking up their time. Hartley retrieves the tablet for face recognition and they successfully copied his thumbprint and voice. They manage to unlock the vault, but the security gets an alarm that the vault has been opened and they report to the guards. At the same time, Das comes and holds them at gunpoint, forcing Hartley to put Nolan in handcuffs. While distracted, he kicked away her gun and they rush into the vault. They enter to find the bishop waiting and she begins to fight with them for the egg. She retrieves a weapon to fight them with and Hartley follow, but Nolan was too weak to break the glass. The bishop was able to easily subdue the pair and handcuffs them together. Soda Vace enters with his men and the pair blames the bishop for taking the egg, but it turns out that she made a deal with him beforehand to protect the egg to cover her true intentions, which again leaves Hartley and Nolan as the suspects. They restrain the team and hold them underground so they can be tortured. The bishop asks them for the location of the third egg and Nolan continues to refuse. She threatens to hurt Hartley until he confesses, but Nolan says he likes the idea and she should go ahead, so she starts to shock Hartley. Soda Vace stops her, deciding to use his own way to let them talk. He begins to strangle Hartley and Nolan breaks and begin to tell them that the egg is in Egypt in Cleopatra's coffin. Soda Vace and the bishop begin to celebrate, but it turns out that the bishop drugged him and takes out the guard as well. She takes the egg and leaves the pair alone with them. Soon after, Soda Vace regains consciousness, blaming them for her leaving, and shoots at them. He misses and shoots Hartley's handcuff, setting him free so he's able to take him down. Hartley tried to leave Nolan to find the bishop, but he tells Hartley that he told her a lie and he needs him to find her and the egg. He decided to let him go and they head out and comes face to face with a bull. Soda Vace regains consciousness again and follows them but gets knocked out by the bull. They took a train to get away, while their Hartley threatens Nolan to say where the egg is, but he refused. He knew he needed him and decided to spare his life. Hartley explains how he had a troubled childhood, and during this heart-to-heart moment Nolan felt sorry for Hartley and tells him the location of the egg. He knows where it is because his father's watch from an auction had the coordinates to its location. They head to South America and travel through a jungle to find the bunker coordinates. When they get to the location, Hartley complains that his thoughts could be wrong because there is no bunker, and the watch numbers may not have been for the coordinates and they just wasted their time to go to a random place. Nolan realizes that he didn't read it correctly and says that they may need to walk back and blames the compass. Hartley gets upset and rips the map he was using. During his rant, Hartley throws a rock to the ground which sounded like he hit metal. They cleared the ground and realized that the bunker was actually there. The pair went inside the bunker and found a door. Nolan used his father's watch to unlock the door and heads down a tunnel where they found a lot of antiques, including the third golden egg, which he drops and quickly takes it up, implying the 5-second rule. The bishop enters the bunker and holds them at gunpoint. Nolan goes to hand over the egg, but Das and her team enters and shoots at them. The three of them decide to escape in an old car that they found and drove through the mines. Das and her team follow suit, shooting at them from behind while Hartley shoots back at them. Das catches up to them and they continue to fight, with Hartley narrowly escaping with his life. Nolan jumps onto their jeep and struggle with one of the men while the bishop tries to save the egg. They manage to subdue Das's team and retrieve the egg, driving straight through a waterfall and jumping to save their lives, fortunately getting away from Das. Nolan exits the water and shouts for Hartley. He heads back into the water to save Hartley because he hasn't come up from the water. He turns around and realizes Hartley was already on land and goes back to retrieve the egg, acting as if he wasn't concerned. While they stood on the shore, the bishop emerges from the water and Nolan begins to taunt, saying checkmate because he got the egg. But in a twist of events, it turns out that the bishop and Hartley were working together all along, tricking him to get the egg, revealing that they're both the bishop. They demand the egg and he hands it over to them. They handcuff him to a tree and joke at him, leaving him in the jungle alone. The scene cuts to a wedding where the bishops brought all 3 eggs to be given to a family who paid millions for it. While the bride enjoys her moment listening to the singer, Interpol intercepts the wedding and takes away the eggs and family while the bishops make their escape. The couple are now out on their yacht enjoying their vacation, when Nolan, who stowed away on board, came to see them. He revealed that Das arrested him after they left, but he was able to escape. Nolan plotted against them and gave their information to Das on the money they got for the eggs, and Das took all of their money. Nolan decided to create another thrilling heist for the 3 of them to complete and use the money against them. Hartley tells him to leave, but the bishop talks with him and agrees that they work well together and they'll have a lot to gain, so they decided to work together. So they all leave before the Interpol arrives and heads to another country where they will come up with a plan for another brilliant heist. Like and subscribe for more movie recaps. Thank you for watching.